When Kobe and I decided to create a podcast and coined it the Father Son Podcast, most would feel this is a gimmick for the podcast, and that couldn't be further from the truth. From the day Kobe was born, I introduced him to video games. This was a way of life for me, as I can remember my father buying me the Odyssey home system, where the cellophane field that clung to the TV determined what game you were playing. Kobe's love for video games grew, as did the bond of a father and a son. When I introduced him to online play, his world opened to new heights. He learned quickly that the incredible gaming experience wasn't just something shared between a father and a son, but there was an entire world that shared his passion for gaming. Gaming was just part of his upbringing, as school or sports was. We always made arrangements that a video game experience was just an arm's length away, even when we went on vacation. As Kobe got older, our experience took us to the road, experiencing events like the Great E3 to more modern events like Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Experience, IGN, and PAX. Kobe graduated from college and now works in the video game industry on the Xbox team. So, as you can see, it was nothing but natural progression to now share our experience and love of the industry through our podcast. Now sit back and enjoy the ride.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Father and Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. My name is Kobe, aka Kobe127. That is Kevin, aka Octane699. You know, you might have seen a little bit different variation of some of the videos in the beginning. We're going to get into some housekeeping about that. Kind of a funny story, but, you know, we are kind of working around some copyright strikes. So, Dad, how you doing?
Not too bad. Actually, spend a lot of time doing what you're going to talk about, which got a little upsetting, but we're working this out. We're a new podcast. We, relatively new. I guess we're about 4 months into it, but
Yeah.
we're still going through our learning curves, and we're still trying to bring this podcast to as many viewers as we possibly can.
Yeah, it turns out that some applications allow certain music, but other applications are like, no, we are not allowing that. So it's very interesting to kind of see that and just go through the whole process because this is something new for me as well. We're also trying something new to kind of give, just some technical know-how behind the scenes. My dad is actually the one who is streaming this feed to TikTok right now. So he's finally a streamer. Congratulations to him. You can now watch him. Maybe he'll do some TikTok streaming one day. But
I said it to Kobe, we actually have 3 computers now doing this podcast. So
yeah.
Hopefully we're going to get out some of that desyncing and so forth, because our goal is to make this. And again, it's all subjective, but I keep saying to Kobe on the back end, like, I want this to be the best podcast ever. Will we ever achieve that? Who knows? But I want to make sure that, and I'm looking over here, I'm getting a TikTok that's telling me to appeal.
Yeah.
So it's something else. Hopefully I'm doing it, or else the TikTok people, are going to get cut off. I don't know. I apologize. So, but yes, we're trying to make this the best. So we're muddling through some of these changes. And like Kobe said, the platforms are ridiculous. For those of you that follow our Discord, you saw that we were excited, man. We put it up on Spotify.
Yeah.
So Kobe and I took on the task this weekend to download every podcast we have, then upload it into Spotify.
And now out of the 20 episodes, 3 are left.
Yeah, I'm seeing this because it wasn't all at once. So I'm seeing Spotify email over Sunday night. And I'm like, what the heck's this? Another email. And then all night long, my emails are dinging, saying Spotify took this down because of this song. And Spotify took it down because of this. And a lot of our music, as Kobe will tell you, we get from Restream, which is the free catalog unlicensed music. Well, not according to Spotify and not according to TikTok. So it's a learning curve.
The music that we implement today is from the YouTube audio library. So there should be no copyright strikes, hopefully. But, to any viewer who is watching, if you know of any site or place to get copyright free music that is platform agnostic, that is guaranteed to work across all platforms, feel free to shoot it our way. Always just trying to figure out what music to place where. It gets challenging. But besides that, as always, you can follow all of our socials right up here. This banner is completely out of date now, so I'm going to run through you everything at this point. So you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Spotify and Blue Sky at Active Reload Gaming. On Twitter or X and Twitch, we're at Active Rel. That is with an REL, Active Rel Gaming. And in terms of the Spotify, if Active Reload Gaming doesn't pop up, just search the Father and Son Gaming Podcast, like you see right here, and boom, it should just be right there. Now, whether or not all the episodes are there at this point, I don't know. We might have to go and re-upload some edited versions of it, but that is all the technical fun and know-how. Other little pieces of housekeeping as we're going through. Remember, this is the rest of the year schedule, and we are already in November. We only have 1 month until December, so getting crazy how time flies. But today we're going to be talking about Keeper, Outer Worlds 2, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Next Monday, we're going to be doing the Game Awards predictions. Hopefully, by that point, the actual nominations are out for the Game Awards. And I do want to talk about the Game Awards here in a little bit. On November 24th, we're going to just start going over the biggest releases of 2026. And now that we had major news and kind of a shakeup within the industry, what is 2026 even going to look like at this point now that Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed to mid-November? It's going to be interesting to see, especially with publishers moving around release dates. So we're going to talk about that. December 8th, what does Game of the Year mean? We always have a big debate here of what is Game of the Year? What does it truly mean? What qualifies for someone for Game of the Year? Is it quality? Is it sales? So on. There's a big conversation to be had. December 15th is going to be our own Game of the Year episode. We're working behind the scenes to get a panel of pretty cool guests in order to come in and give our Game of the Year rankings. December 22nd, we're going to be going over our favorite gaming holiday memories. So, I'm going to be back at home with the parents, and we're just going to sit there, talk about some fun gaming holiday memories, and then we are off until 2026 after the new year. So that is it for everything on the horizon. I just want to kind of loop back to the Game Awards now. So this is a last minute thing that I just pulled the trigger on today. I'm going to be going to the Game Awards in person, and I will be with a close friend of mine. My dad is not going, so I'm going to be there on the ground floor reporting from there. We're working out logistics and how to potentially do a live show from the Game Awards. Obviously, not during the show itself. That is way harder and also not ethical. I don't want to be streaming in the middle of a show while people are up there accepting their awards for pretty amazing achievements that they've accomplished within their career. It's just not great. But doing a pre-show, maybe a post-show, that is something that we are talking about and trying to figure out the technical know-how and what is going to be allowed in the Peacock Theater venue. I'm going to be there. So we're going to try to get something cool for you guys. It's going to be a very interesting show, and I will probably cause a scene in the theater if Expedition 33 wins Game of the Year.
Well, part of the reason, again, why we decided to do this is the theater will not allow any equipment in there that we would be able to do the live podcast. So I decided that I'm going to stay home for the betterment of the podcast to bring it to the viewers, where I am going to be the host sitting here working all the controls, streaming to all the stuff, where Kobe and one of his friends could be out there kind of, reporter on the streets live to see what it is and kind of meet the people before or do some pre stuff, as he said, and then kind of some post stuff. So unfortunately, this year I'm sitting home to do it, but next year I'm going to be there because it's a bucket list of mine is to go to the Game Awards. It's been a bucket list of Kobe and I, but when we talked about it today, he was, very heartfelt in the sense saying like, Dad, I wanted to experience this with you. This is what we've been doing his entire life. And because of the podcast, I just think that it's better that I don't go out, because then we can bring this to the podcast. Because as I said to him just 10 minutes before this show, anything we can do to add legitimacy to this podcast, because we do take this very seriously, like that's what we got to do. So if I got to suffer to stay home on a bucket list thing to put him at there to kind of, again, elevate this to the level that we know it's going to go, then I got to make that sacrifice. But I can tell you next year I'm going to be there.
Yeah. And the moment if I meet Kojima, the moment I meet him, I'm going to ask him to scan my feet. If you know, you know.
Yeah, but
That man
you
loves.
saw when we were out in LA how tight for the Kojima event for the Death Stranding 2. You see how tight that security
Yeah,
is.
but with like when we were out there for Summer Game Fest, you know, people just hang out in the lobby and you just see all sorts of faces. So
But we did
like,
hang out in the lobby, and he went out the back
well,
door.
that was a different event. Okay, that was the Death Stranding red carpet premiere.
Correct.
This was Summer Game Fest. Like Kojima was just hanging out in other areas, but my goal is to meet him and say hello. Bombay says super excited, and Nate Edwards says GTA is the most pushback all time award.
But you know what though, Nate, we talked about this. This is the exact template that they did with Red Dead 2.
Red Dead.
It was
Yeah.
identical to the dates of when they pushed it back. They said, "Oh, we're going to push that of this year to May," and then it was pushed back to November. So, you know, again, it's Rockstar. They can do anything they want to do.
Yeah. At this point, you know, you and I had a slight conversation. Like, it's crazy to say, but I am not excited for GTA 6 at this point because one, like I know it's going to be a Grand Theft Auto game. Grand Theft Auto games are usually great, but I have seen nothing in the promotional material that they have put out to make this game show that's $1 billion in the making. So it's like until I see what has made this game $1 billion and what revolutionary pieces of tech for video games they're putting into it, it's hard for me to get excited at the moment. I don't know if that's a controversial take, but like I said, I know GTA is going to be great. I want to see what's going to push GTA forward. Tate says 200 starting price. No, I think the most realistic option, and this is the last thing I'll say on GTA before we move on. I think it's going to be $100, but here is the model I envision them doing. I think if you just want the single player, it's going to be a $70 game. But if you want the online experience, that's going to be $30. So the full package is going to be the $100 game because everyone's going to want to buy online anyway. Like online is their moneymaker, and it's what they keep updating. But yeah, so I think it's going to be a $70 single player campaign only. But if you want the full experience, it's going to be $100.
I mean, just to add to that, and I don't want to get off on the tangent here, but if you see for GTA 5 that came out when
Oh, 2013.
they just still did an update to the live. And the update is supposed to give you this conduit into GTA 6. So, like, they're still making content for it, which I thought was pretty cool that they're going to do it. But my biggest thing about them pushing it back to November is 100%. Again, everybody knows I'm a Gears guy. That is going to murder E Day. And I'm kind of upset about that because I'll tell everybody and I'll say it 10 times over. I'll play E Day before I play Grand Theft Auto because I'm just a Gears fan, but it's going to kill the sales of E Day.
Well, we'll see how everything shakes out at the end of the day, because there's so many unknowns with what next year is going to look like. But let's talk about the knowns. Actually, hang on. Bombay says I still have all my money from when some hacker messed with my account on GTA Online. It's kind of ruined the game.
Yeah, I played GTA Online with you've seen him frequent us here, DJ Soto, on our podcast. I used to play, and we put, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many hours into it. And yeah, we'd have to jump from server to server because it just, to me, it got to the point that it was unplayable. Like you'd get into a server and you know that you couldn't do anything because they would be hacking the server so bad and ridiculous with the flying cars blowing up everything and you couldn't even move. So I think it got very,
Yeah.
I don't even want to say toxic. It got beyond toxic that you couldn't do anything in the game for the longest time.
Yeah, but I know like the RP community is pretty huge, and the RP community, like, it has so many different flavors at this point. I can't keep up with GTA Online. I played it for a little bit when I came to the PS4, but then that's about it. Let's start talking about the knowns of games that we have been playing. As the title has said when you clicked into this, today we're going to be doing impressions and reviews of Keeper, Outer Worlds 2, and Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. So we've been hard at work playing three games, and all to varying degrees. So where I want to start is the one that I'm the most interested in because I haven't been able to even check out this game yet. I have not put any time into it. Dad, you have been playing it because a person who frequents the chat a lot, Shamplu, was like, you need to play this game. And that is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. That game is a follow up to a game that came out in 2004, I believe, the original Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. It is known as a cult classic video game. And I know you haven't, I want to stress you haven't
because
played
it
the
only
original.
launched on PC.
Okay.
I wasn't playing
So
PC back then.
when it comes to your opinions, because I know this game currently sits at mixed reviews on Steam, it sits around like a 60-ish on Metacritic, and I think it's a lot of people have been comparing it to the original Bloodlines and what that game had to offer. So I want to just kind of stress and give caveats that your opinion is only on the matter of the sequel itself, because you have no prior experience to this franchise as a whole. Like this, I think, is your very first time in the Masquerade world.
Yes.
So I want to start kind of getting into this. And my first question to you is, what kind of game is this in one sentence, and who do you think this game is for?
Well, to me, and I know this is going to sound weird, but it's kind of a light action RPG.
Okay.
And like that's the best that I can say. I think anybody that when you say who's it for, anybody that likes vampire games or vampire lore, I think it is great.
Yeah.
I think that there's been a need for another vampire game that we haven't scratched that itch because again, like anything else, you go into it was vampires a long time ago when it was the underworld, and then it moved into zombies, and we're still in the zombie thing. And I just miss the vampire. So I like the vampire lore. So I think it's a light action RPG. And if you like vampires or the vampire lore, 100% up your alley.
So you were talking about an action RPG. Does it also mix stealth with it? Is it more of like an immersive sim, or is it just a straight action RPG? Or is it a talkie RPG as well?
Well, yes, yes, and yes. There's
Okay.
really like three factions that you can align with, three or four. I don't even remember. And it's almost like what you want to play, your game style. And if you go
Okay.
after the one faction, it is stealth. You're doing all stealth stuff, so forth. Now, me, I'm always been the Rambo, put my head down, run in, guns ablazing, and I don't like that sneaking around shit. It gets me tired after a while. But even still with that, like I'm that Rambo style running in, there's still certain missions that you do tweak in the sneaking and vice versa. When you pick the faction that's the sneaking, there's still some that you have to run in. So it's a perfect balance and mix. It just aligns with your play style more, but still gives you a taste of all of it.
Okay. So then, as you opened up the game for the very first time, did the opening hours hook you? And what was the moment that sold you on this game, if it sold you at all?
Yes, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, but I can give an overarching that I thought was outstanding. You're, and this is my kind of elevator pitch to it. You wake up and you are an elder vampire. You have no clue, no recollection. You don't even know what city you're in. You wake up in Seattle.
Okay.
And the bizarre thing is you hear a voice in your head. In this voice in your head, you're literally playing two different people within this world. And that's the most that I want to get to. I was hooked right away because I'm like, you're this elder vampire and you have a voice in your head that you don't know how it got there. And the voice is it's kind of a noir type voice. And
Okay.
it put a lot together. So that's what intrigued me. So I was hooked right away. Like I said, it's those things like, okay, I just want to find out who the voice is. And then if I'm hooked, then I'll
Yeah.
keep going more. And I was hooked through the whole thing.
So you talked about it being in Seattle, and obviously that's where I live. I live in Seattle. So I'm curious in terms of the world design. Does Seattle in the game, does it feel alive, and is it meaningfully explorable? And how does it compare to real Seattle? Because you've been here multiple times
Sure.
too.
Well, let me tell you, the map is small. The maps are
Okay.
small. And knowing Seattle, obviously not as well as you, but knowing it enough, what they did was they took areas um, of interest and made them put together where in real life they might be across the city. So they took different things. So people of that know Seattle, if you take the Pioneer Tunnels, like that is
Mhm.
literally butt up to Chinatown.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
but I'll tell you the way that they did Seattle, like I think graphically outstanding, and it's snowing because it's during Christmas, but it's snowing and what's
Well, that's a
well,
lie. It doesn't really snow here
but
at all.
that's what's funny about it because when you run around and listen to NPCs, they're going to be like that you're running past and they're going to say, "Oh my goodness, it's snowing in Seattle. This never happens." Like so it's not that it's fun the way they bake that in. And to be honest with you, I like playing games that have snow in it. I just like snow.
Yeah.
The other thing that the city is alive, but where I think they went way over the top is, everybody thinks of Seattle and they think of the homeless problems. And to be honest with you, there's homeless in every city anymore. But I think they went overboard with this because every alley has a homeless person, move digging through the garbage or the trash bin. So, like, I think they just went over the top with it. Every street
Yeah.
corner has tents out on the sidewalks. Again,
Yeah, and that is not
it's
Seattle. Like, I live here. Don't I'm not going to go off too much on a soap opera or my soapbox, but the media absolutely conflates Seattle. Like, Seattle is a very beautiful city.
not.
Like, whatever you see, it's not
There's
true.
2 things I always say when I talk to people about Seattle when they talk to me. 1, it doesn't rain all the time like you see it on television, and 2
No, it does
and
not.
2, there's not a homeless person on every street corner, but there's places that it is, but that's everywhere you go anymore, and it's not. So, that's where I think they took almost the cliche of Seattle and put it in there.
They took the conflated
Correct,
opinion.
because I think this now I'm going off of memory, so you gotta correct me if I'm wrong. I think
Yeah.
this is done by a developer called Chinese Room out of the UK.
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
because here's the problem, not a problem, but where again, hats off. I think this might have gone through 3, maybe 4, again, don't quote me on it.
Yeah, Bloodlines 2 has been a very troubled development. You talk about like delayed games and things like Bloodlines 2 has been passed between many developers, and this game was supposed to release on the Xbox One generation. It's been a long
Correct.
time, and I have heard the one thing is when you're a developer and you get past this kind of project where it has been through hell and back, like everything is against you. And so far what you're saying, it seems like they did the best
They
possible
did.
job that they could given the circumstances around this IP.
Yes. My hat's off to them because I think they pulled it together. And I'll get in.
So
I
I do want
I
to kind of
really love the game, but when we get into here, there's flaws in it, but not flaws that it deter
yeah.
me.
So I do want to ask one more thing about the representation of Seattle. Is there any small details that you found you're like, oh, like that's fun, like that's a good callback,
Yeah,
or
for
do they really take their time and like did it feel like they actually researched the city, or is it just set
no,
dressing?
they researched the city because I had brought this up to you on one of them. Anybody that's a football fan or goes out to Seattle, because I had to ask when the first time I was in the city, is a lot of places, a lot of businesses have a banner outside that says it just says number 12. And then you go in to sit down at restaurants and there's number 12. And I had to ask a restaurant, what's that about? And anybody that knows anything about football, there's 11 people on the field and they claim that the crowd is the 12th man. That's what they call it because the in Lumen Field, it's such a field that gets so loud that the fans become the 12th player. Well,
Loudest stadium in the
correct.
NFL.
So now to answer your question, when you're running around now, I don't know if 12th man is a license thing with the NFL. I don't know, but they have 13th man up there. So you
That's
run
fun.
through and there's a lot of 13s in the windows, and then you see a banner that says 13th man, and even there's some stuff I was taking pictures of my screen and sending it to Kobe that I didn't see. And I'm like, is this monument slash statue, is that really out there because it was cool? And he's like, yes. And there's a lot of landmarks that I see. I was a little upset that they don't have Pike Place, but you can see the Ferris wheel like 4 or 5 blocks away, but you can never get to it. So they do have
Gotcha.
distance visual stuff, but when you try to run to it, it just blanks out and puts you back into the map. But so it's a very small map, I can tell you that. Um, and the only other thing that I'll say that they didn't capture is like every other building is a skyscraper, down, and it's in Chinatown with skyscrapers. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just not that. But I think they did a good enough job taking the landmarks that make it feel familiar, but they're taking artistic liberty to kind of put them
Yeah.
together. So I did feel it was good because they have the Seattle PD in there, they have everything. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the familiarity. And I know we talked about Shemplu, guy that's on our Discord and so forth. He said that he loved the game so much that it made him want to go visit Seattle now.
Very cool. I do want to ask you though, for the game itself, for a world that you never explored before, how was the onboarding experience in terms of terminology, lore? Like, was it easy to pick up on?
It really was, because I think it's balanced. We'll talk about my experience about Outer Worlds too that I had. I think it was very, very balanced with the dialogue. And I thought the dialogue held my hand through the lore of what it is. But you got to remember, it really doesn't have any tie to Bloodlines, the first game, because it's in a different city. It's different characters.
Yeah.
Like the main character that you're playing as, he was asleep because he's an elder vampire. He was asleep technically during Bloodlines 1. So you
Yeah.
really don't have to know anything about Bloodlines 1 to make this happen.
So I do want to start moving into more of the game design itself. Let's talk about some mission design. In the hours that you've played at this game, what is the balance of mission design? Is it just combat, stealth, dialogue, investigation, because you said it's noir, or is it just choose your own path as you go in? You have an objective and you can tackle it however you want.
Well, it's like just about any open sandbox RPG that you open up your map, you'll see your quests that you have to do. You could do all of them. You could do just the main quest, just like anything else. Um, the noir part of it, I can't really talk about because I think it's too big of a spoiler. Um, but there is investigation in it. Like as you run around, because the big thing is you got to remember you're waking up knowing nothing. Like you don't know how you got there. You don't know anything about the city. You're actually it's like you're learning like you didn't even know what cell phones were because and the technology. So you're learning all this stuff because it's been 3, 4, 500 years that you've been asleep, and you're coming out into this not knowing anything about this world. So it's fun as you're going through this elder vampire's eyes, kind of looking to see and learn as you're going through. But that's it. There was no barrier of entry to learning the backlog of the lore of this. And like I said, the stealth and all the other stuff, it's baked in. No matter which path you take or which faction you take, again, if you take a stealth faction, they're still going to sprinkle in the Rambo and vice versa. So I
Yeah.
think that's what makes it sweet, because you're still forced to see all of the mechanics of the game.
So there is a question in chat from Cherry Tomato Boy asking, since there is a Japantown in Seattle, does this make it an anime game?
No, but you'd be proud of me, Jerry, because you get to create the way your vampire looks. And I gave him anime hair, so you'd be happy. He's got the jagged edged anime hair. So I did make
Okay.
him somewhat anime.
We're not rage baiting this podcast. We are keeping this nice and clean. So in terms of, with any RPG, you build your character. When you building your character, you obviously make a clan background and build. How much does the clan and background actually affect the game? Is the world reactive to you, or is it just set dressing?
Well, what's funny is it's the world itself. It's called the Masquerade. It's in the title.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of this is you're out in the world interacting, and you have to keep the masquerade up. So you can't use like you can't just go bite somebody and suck their blood in public, or you can't use your vampire skills of super speed or climbing buildings in public. You got to look for things to um areas that there's an eye, like everything else. Like, hey, look, the eye's up, that means people see you. When the eye's closed, they don't. But the reality is you try to keep this masquerade, and if you start to unveil the masquerade too much, you get a stake in your heart where it's simulated that other vampires will stake you to death and you die because they don't want to
Mm.
reveal the masquerade of this.
Mm. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it
That's cool.
is.
So you talked about graphics and everything. Let's take it back up and let's just look at the performance. How has the performance been? Oh, are you playing on
I'm
console?
playing it on console.
Okay, how is it stable or is it frame pacing, stutters, crashes, hitches in the game
I
itself?
think everything seems flawless except, and the only thing I could think, because obviously it's not a loading game, it's seamless.
Yeah.
But I think when it should be loading in the background, you get this weird hitch,
Mm.
and it I don't even want to say it stutters. It almost, millisecond freezes, and it's done that a couple
Is it,
times.
is it as bad as the new RoboCop game this
Yes,
year, where it literally
yes,
just freezes the game for 2 3 seconds?
yes,
Okay.
yes. It reminds me of that, but there's sometimes it happened in combat, which takes you out of
Ooh,
the
that's not
zone.
good.
So, but
That's
you
not
know
good at
what?
all.
You're kind of living through it, and it's fine. Like I don't know that it's that bad that I would say, "Geez, I'm not going to play this. I'm going to finish it." I probably got about 15 hours into it. Um,
Okay. So, is there any rough edges, bugs, jank that echoes the kind of the charm of the old game? And is there anything that just frustrates you
I
outright?
haven't seen any bugs. I haven't seen any rubber banding. I haven't seen any falling in rocks. What I did find that I don't know that it's a game flaw to me, it's a design flaw to me, is I think they should have had in when there's combat some type of lock on, because like you're
Mm.
fighting somebody and they just move and they're not supernatural. And like you're like, oh my goodness, where did it go? And there's other people hitting you and you wanted to finish off this. It needed some type of lock on system. I think that
Is it first person or third
it's first
person?
person.
Okay. I don't know if a lock on would necessarily work in a first person game, especially with hand to hand
You
combat. If it was third person, I would agree with you, but first person, I would feel like that would be a weird design because I don't want, as a first person camera, I feel like if you start like getting locked onto different places, like I haven't remembered any game that has a first person lock on method that is decent.
maybe lock
Maybe
on
the
is the
chat can
wrong
correct me.
thing, but when you play it or if you play it, you're going to keep that in the back of your mind and you're going to say, oh, that's what he was talking about. So maybe lock on isn't the solution to it, but maybe it's the camera. Maybe it's the camera more than that I would talk about. That like
Have you increased field of view at all
I have,
to
and I
maybe try to?
actually
Okay.
sped it up a little bit because I don't like to play with the settings of my sensitivity super high, that because I'm old and my brain doesn't process it. So I usually turn down sensitivity. I actually turned this one up a little bit to see if I can compensate. It doesn't.
Yeah. Nate Edwards says anime for
There you go.
life. We got some anime fans here. In terms, with any RPG, an RPG also lives and dies by the UI experience. How has the UI been in this game? Are menus clunky to go through? How's the map system? How's the journaling system? Let's talk about that
This
for a
is
bit.
one of the things I really liked about it, because and again, guys, I'm the old guy in here. I'm the father, not the son. And I just think that some RPG games are getting so ridiculously over the top with their menus and their abilities, and let's do 5,000 options of abilities. And I think that the menus and the abilities were clean on this. There was enough abilities. Now again, The cool part was you pick your faction or whatever they're actually calling it, and you can work up that tree, but you can actually jump onto one of the factions. Let me take a step back and I'll explain it. There's 3 or 4 types of humans walking, and they have this vampire vision that you can see a red halo around them, a purple halo around them, so forth and so on. If you want to run up the one faction, you got to gain so many blood points by sucking the blood of a human that is part of that haloed color of the faction. But when you pick what faction you're going to, if there's an ability I like on the other faction, I can go get those blood colors, for lack of a better explanation, and go after just that one ability. So you're not
Does crossing factions have negative consequences
I'm
though?
not so far, I don't know, because I can tell you this, and I know I'm jumping to the end, but I've read where there's 6 actual endings to this, 6 legitimate
Oh wow.
endings to this. So to answer your question, I don't know, but I would think there is, for the pure fact that if there's 6 unique endings to it, then it has to have some. And you'll see this when it's like typical, like you're answering, they say they're pleased with this or this angered them because obviously your decisions are crafting the world that you're living in and how people interact with you and so forth and so on. So that's so yes, I'm going to have to say without knowing that yes, it has to because of 6 endings.
Okay. Last question there's 2 last questions I want to ask you. Do you think the writing is sufficient enough to carry you through this game? And as of now, because you're not finished yet, what would you slap a rating on for this
Now,
out of 10?
is the writing stellar? No, no. Is this a Last of Us writing? No, not even close. If you're going into this game for the writing and this Last of Us story, then you shouldn't play it. If you're going in there for a fun time that the story is sufficient and keeps you engaged, then absolutely I'd play this. If you are a vampire person, fun game, man. I love the game. I am 100% going to finish this. And I know Champloo started his second playthrough, and I can see why he would do it. That if I had enough time, I would definitely play through it a second time. Rating as it sits right now, I'd give it a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so pretty
Yes,
good. So you kind of disagree with majority of the
I
people
do.
who
I've read
okay.
some of the things, and I'm going to tell you that without hardcore sitting down and taking a look at our year, which we will do, um, if I just knee jerked it, it's probably in my top 6 games of the year, 5 games of the year.
Gotcha. Well, very interesting. I want to move on to the next RPG, something that we've both been playing, and start talking about that. And that is the Outer Worlds 2. You had more time than I have had in it. So let's just start getting into the Outer Worlds 2. High level thoughts from you. How do you feel about the Outer Worlds 2?
Well, and again, let me preface this. I loved Outer Worlds 1. Played through it. Um, High level, I kind of abandoned it because I thought it got too chatty for me. Like as I explained to you before, I'd really get into the game, gunfire, blah, blah, blah. And my adrenaline's rushing. And then they go into 20-minute dialogues and it brought me back down and then rinse and repeat. And I know you and I talked about it's the Avowed, but I didn't feel that way in Avowed. Maybe it's just me. And maybe I liked Outer World 1 better because of the time that it came out. Maybe there wasn't so many games that I wanted to play, and it was just a perfect drop for me that I stuck with it and pushed through. But to sit down in Outer Worlds 2, I don't know that I'm going to finish it. Loving Outer Worlds 1. So that's my high level opinion of it.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting because you and I have very different experiences where I've never played Outer Worlds 1. Outer Worlds 1 dropped at a very bad time for me. Outer Worlds 1 dropped when I was starting to go to college, I think, and I just didn't have time. And it's a game that I always knew that I thought I would like because I love Fallout New Vegas. I love Obsidian RPGs. I loved Avowed earlier this year. Avowed has its problems, but I really enjoyed my time with Avowed. But I never got around to Outer Worlds 1. So going into Outer Worlds 2, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put all of the opinions of Outer Worlds 1 aside. I want to go into this game with a very fresh mind. And I enjoy the game a lot for what I have played so far. I don't have as many hours as you do. I'm not super far into the game, but I've played enough to kind of have a fundamental understanding of what Outer Worlds 2 is trying to accomplish. And where I do disagree with you, this game is Avowed, but sci-fi. Like, Avowed was a very chatty RPG. And I could point to many examples where you go to camp, and then as you leave camp, you're treated to 20 to 25 minutes of dialogue with your spirit guardian that's with you before you can even get back out to the open world. And even when you're talking to companions, they go on and on and on. And like even the quest, like you'll have like huge combat encounters, then you're slowing down, you're getting back into the dialogue.
Let me just say something there. There's the big difference in my mind, because I loved Avowed. Finished it, loved it. You're saying the camps, and I said to you point blank, yes, the camps, oh my goodness, it trained you. But the difference is I can go to the camp when I wanted to. It's not part of the storyline moving you.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. You had to go to camp in order to progress your spirit storyline, your companion storylines. There was many moments in the game with the main story that you had to go to camp. That was mandatory.
But not like Outer Worlds 2, where it's again, I would fight and then it would be 20 minutes. I got my adrenaline pumping up. And here's the thing with it. I don't mean to cut you off with this, but just to circle back. And I said this to somebody today. My time is so limited anymore, whether it be for a television show, a movie, or a video game. So you take a look at movies today, there's so many great movies. Television shows, there's better TV shows out than there's ever been in the past. And video games, in my opinion, there's more video games out there than we know what to do with. So I have such limited time. If you as the medium don't grab me within the first 45 minutes, whether it's a television show, whether it's a movie, whether it's a video game, I'm bailing. And it may end up being the greatest game of all time, but my time's limited of what I want to do. So you better catch me. Maybe that's a selfish statement or a narcissistic statement or whatever you want to, coin that. But the reality is my time is so limited. So I think that's what happened with Outer Worlds 2. If I didn't have all these other things that I want to play, maybe I would have given it more time.
Yeah, and I think, like we can start diving into the mechanics of the game, because to me, like, I want to ask you, how does the exploration feel? How does the combat feel? And we can go into it, but like, I'm going to keep looping back to Avowed, where this game to me is sci-fi Avowed. Now, I haven't played Outer Worlds 1 before, so I don't know how Outer Worlds 2 stacks up to Outer Worlds 1 in terms of quality. But in terms, I want to start going into like the open zone hubs. Like Obsidian's been doing this thing with their last 3 big RPG titles, which is these open zones where with Avowed and Outer Worlds, you essentially, for Outer Worlds, it's planets. You go onto the planet and then you have this big open zone that you go through. And it's not a huge open world map, but it's these smaller, more dense areas that you get to explore. And I do tend to like that, but I'm also kind of getting worn out on it at the same time. I think I'm also just getting worn out on open world games right now. Like, I think with, you talk about time and what you want to play. And I think, where I'm at with my time right now, I was talking to my girlfriend earlier this week about just gaming in general. And I'm like, she was like, oh, you should go play like Metaphor ReFantasio. And I'm like, I would love to, because I've heard the story is incredible. But that's another 150-hour game. And looking through, I have beaten 42 games this year. And so many of them have been 50 to 60 plus hour like adventures that where I'm at right now, it's like I want to sit down. Like that's why I've been grinding Battlefield and I've been grinding Arc Raiders, because I get in, I play a 20-minute match, and then I can hop out. Boom, I'm done. There's nothing else to it. But earlier this year, like I love the Valve. But that being said, What I'm getting back to is in terms of the open zone structure, it does make the game feel a little bit more manageable instead of like, as much as I love Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, that was such a massive map, and it's like it gets overwhelming at points trying to manage everything that comes into this game. So I do enjoy the smaller zone designs because it feels like I'm actually accomplishing something with the 1 to 2 hour sessions that I am putting into the game late at night. How do you feel about the open zone
Yeah.
hubs?
Now, again, I'm an open world guy too, but I'm with you 100% that the time to do this, and I've said this in previous podcasts, and I still stand behind it. I think that they should make games, not every game, again, appease, that they should make games that are 15, 20 hours, lower the dev time to do it, get it back to a $50, $60 price point, and sell those games along with these. Not every game needs to be 150 hours. Not every game needs to take, you know, 10 years to do. Not every game has to be two, three, four, $500 million to make. Again, I believe looking forward, and I do have a fairly decent business minded, background, that I think there's a niche in there for what you're saying. 15-hour, 20-hour game, lower the price, lower the dev time, and you can still put out that quality game and get it in there. And I think you'll sell more of them because wow, I just spent 70, $80 on this game. I don't want to waste my money. I got to finish it. And it's 150 hours. Fallout 4, anniversary edition just dropped today. I would love to go back into Fallout 4 and redo that. I don't have 100 hours to put into it because it's all the DLC, it's everything. So, but I do like that that's back to what you're asking, the manageable, bigger zones, because again, I am a sandbox player. I like that, but it does give you a sense of accomplishment that half of your, half of your time spent isn't traveling, across a map. It takes you 15, 20 minutes of real time to get to your objective. And then you're playing, and then they make you run all the way back, where they put all that unnecessary bloat of time in there
Yeah.
to get you place to place. So I do enjoy the more
And
manageable open worlds.
it also has that good avowed effect where I think this one rewards you so much for exploration as well. Where if I go off in like a corner somewhere and I explore a cave, I'm going to get some good loot. And it's really fun. Like I am encouraged to go look around and not just mainline quests all the time and like just try to get from point A to point B. So I do enjoy the design and how they have the structure set up. And the next thing I want to kind of talk about is the writing itself. I want to talk about the companions, the satire of the game, and kind of the choices that you make along the way. So I want to start. I never played Outer Worlds 1, but I have heard from some people that Outer Worlds 1 writing wasn't as great as it could have been. Outer Worlds 2, so far to me, I'll start. I think the writing has been good. I don't think it's like mind blowing in any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's snarkiness in terms of the corporate satire. I think it lands well enough to make you go from point A to point B. I do like having it's kind of Borderlands-ish in a way to me, where it's all these corporations coming in trying to capitalize on this planet, and you have many different factions that are all just corporate entities. And it is like, the man against the corporation. And it is fun to be in that world, be in that setting. Um, and I always like in movies and television and books, the corporate sci-fi ad speak bureaucracy. Like I really enjoy that kind of sci-fi and that dystopian feel. I like how goofy it gets in this. And so I'm enjoying the world itself. And not having played Outer Worlds 1, I was able to jump into this and like fully understand everything that's happening, because this, from my understanding, is fully disconnected from Outer Worlds 1 in terms of like the characters and what planet you're on. This is a completely new planet, I believe, that you are on and traversing through. But so far, I'm enjoying the story. Now, in terms of the companions, I also had this issue with Avowed. The companions that you start off with, I am just not interested in.
Correct.
Like the first companion, like I think he is set up with such an interesting premise where he's this guy who is just all about you as his captain, and he will do anything for you, and he is, without spoiling kind of the main plot hook, but you are separated from him for many years, and he's just always looking for you. But besides that, like after that interesting hook, I haven't had too much experience with him where I'm like, wow, this writing's pretty genius. I like having him around. I'm excited to see the other companions because the one that I start off with just feels very basic and vanilla for what this kind of game is. And I wish there was a stronger companion to start.
Yeah, no, I agree. But one of the things I just want to touch upon the writing a minute. And again, I'm not making an assumption of everybody. This is just my opinion that I see. I think most people get a little too jaded about the writing. Like we all think that everything should be, again, I'm using Last of Us. There's many games out there that the story was just outstanding. And I think we get jaded. I'm fine with the story being okay. Like I'm not there so much. I'm not picking up the Outer Worlds 2 to play it for the story. So if the story is average, I'm okay with that. But the thing that I think is cool when you're talking about your first companion, that you're separated for how many years? Was it 20 years or 10 years or
Yeah.
something like that? But when you were in the past, he's asking for advice and you say it. And if you don't remember what you said, and then you're fast forwarded in,
Yeah, your advice comes true.
comes true. And then if he asks you again and you don't remember and you say something like they call you out. Well, hey,
Yeah.
hold on. You gave me this advice that I lived my life by.
Thinking of that, I do want to say I like how reactive the game is because I play stupid sometimes where I'm running around jumping all over, like just trying to fast track like to get to the objective. And the moment where I was stuck, I'm like, oh wow, this game's actually like looking at what I'm doing. There was a moment in the very first prologue level where you have to run down the stairs to get to a terminal to understand the mission of infiltrating this corporate entity. And for a normal person would run down the stairs. Me, I jumped over the railing and landed right in front of it. And the companion literally turned to me and went, "That's an unconventional way of doing it, but hey, you're here, I guess." Like, so they do listen and actually react to what you're doing in game. So I thought that was like a nice little detail touch.
Sure.
And in terms of what your claim about like fine stories, I think, when it comes to an RPG, I at least want the story to be good enough that it respects my decisions and my choices as a player and reacts to that. That's what I look for in a story-based RPG. You can have incredible stories, and there has been, Cyberpunk, Witcher 3, some of the best stories in gaming was in an RPG format. But I just need the RPG to be good enough to allow my decisions to actually affect the world in some way, which so far, this is leading up to be very reactive. I'm not so far into it, but like your example right there, they are listening and they are kind of taking your permutations and fitting it into where you're at in the game. And I know this game also has tons of different endings because you can align with different factions and do their quest lines to kind of form very New Vegas-ish. And that's the one thing to me is this game does feel very New Vegas-ish in a way, especially with all the factions and entities that you can align with. Has a lot of similarities. How's the difficulty been for you in the game? Because I'm playing on hard mode, and man, there are some spongy ass enemies in this game.
Again, I put it as story mode, so it's got a difficulty slider for me. I'm good. So
yeah.
I'm playing it for the enjoyment, not for the white knuckling. This white hair and gray beard is from 45 years of white knuckling hardcore games. Now I just want to relax and get my blood pressure down, not up. So that's kind of where it's at. But I've come to the conclusion. Then we had this conversation before, and I found something out about myself. I am more of a medieval, mythical, apocalyptic guy versus a futuristic star, travel guy type thing. You're saying this, and I agree 100% when I sat back and thought about it. Like, it really is Avowed reskinned. It really is. But I the whatever medieval, whatever you want to call, the Avowed world.
It's you like fantasy more than sci-fi.
Fantasy than sci-fi. Well, it depends because there's sci-fi that I like. I don't like space sci-fi. And like I wasn't a Mass Effect guy. I played Starfield. I like Starfield, but I'd rather play Fallout way before.
And here's where I'm going to throw a loop and everything. I'm going to bring some movie chat in for everyone. The thing that blows my mind with you as to why you don't like this, to me, Outer Worlds 2 has a very similar definition of sci-fi as The Fifth Element.
No way. No way.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
No, it
does. It's
doesn't.
that high corporation controlling everything, very goofy.
Fifth
I
Element,
think
one
I
of
think
the
if you
best
go,
movies.
I'm just saying, I think maybe it's just where you're playing this game at in time. Maybe it'll strike different at a later time. But I think like because even if we go into like combat, like for like mechanics, like this game feels great to play. The gunplay feels
It
great.
does.
The melee not so much. I think the melee was way better done in Avowed, and like Avowed had worse gunplay. Like it's funny, Outer Worlds has the better gunplay but the worst melee combat, versus Avowed had way better melee combat but the worst gunplay. But either way, is like the combat and the way you go about things and are solving, it feels great. Game feels great all around. Like this is not a bad video game. Like if I were to slap a rating on it so far, like it'd be an 8 out of 10. Like it is a solid ass video game. It is great and it's checking all the boxes, but it doesn't do anything more than great. Like it is very like
Vanilla.
it is good.
It's vanilla.
Yeah, it's like it hits, it checks all the boxes and does all the boxes at a very high quality. But don't expect anything more than checking all those boxes.
Now, again, and this is what's weird. This is why I said I found it out about myself. Like when you go in the movies, I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I just saw the new Predator movie. Predator is one of my favorite sci-fi, or series or franchises. So it's not that I dislike that future sci-fi, but when it comes to games, I'd rather play, you know, apocalyptic is my favorite
Yeah.
genre. So
And for me, I was just gonna loop back. Like I would give Avowed like a 7 out of 10. I think Outer Worlds is slightly better than Avowed, but also I'm a sci-fi person, so that could be where I'm like I like sci-fi a little bit more than fantasy, and that could be giving the extra point. But my score can change as I go on because at the end of the day, this is a very interesting RPG. I like how nerdy it can get, especially with the flaws system. That the game, how I talked about reacting, the game reacts to how you play and can introduce flaws that you can accept. For example, I had the ultimate edition of the game, and one of the flaws that popped up immediately was called consumerism. Like, hey, you needlessly spent X amount of money on this game. You want lower prices in the store, but you get less money. Like, it's funny. Or like another one is if you crouch too much, you will get a flaw that your knees crack as you go down, and it alerts everyone in a small radius. But you move 20% faster as you're crouch walking and sneaking. So I like how mechanically rich this game can get. So I'm excited to see where my play style goes further. Dad, if you had to slap a rating on this, if you even want to at this point, what would
five,
you
five
say
out of
Outer
10.
Worlds? And no, that's pretty
It is.
average, or just
To me,
meh.
it's average. It's 50-50 right down the middle.
Do you think you're ever going to come back to this?
Probably not. Again, and I think that it's because I have so many great games that I need to play. There's games I
Yeah.
need to play, and there's games I wanna play. Like, again, my backlog is just way too big. I have a little stack to the left of me of my backlog, and over the weekend, I had to take half of those and kinda put them down in my storage because I'm like, I have put a section, say, "Here's my backlog," because it was just getting too big, so probably not.
All right. I do want to move on to Keeper, the final game for this review, but I just want to take a quick word about our website.
Got games you don't play anymore? Turn that collection into cash at ActiveReloadGaming.com. It's fast, it's easy, and you get paid quick. Or if you are looking to buy, check us out on eBay or scroll through our Games by console. Find us at ActiveReloadGaming.com.
And we are back. I'm gonna swap us because now you're asking me questions about Keeper. You're back in the host seat. Before that, Cherry Tomato Boy says, "I heard the gunplay is as good as Borderlands 4." Yeah, the gunplay is really good in Outer Worlds 2. It feels tight. It feels crisp, and the game does kind of dive into Borderlands mechanics, especially with like kind of the looting, shooting that you do. So yeah, it is a very well feeling game. Keeper, I played it. I beat it. This is the new game from Double Fine, and you have
Hey,
questions about it.
I'm the host now.
Oh, okay,
You
okay.
take that over. Your seat's a little warm here.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the second time I get to sit on this side of the thing and talk about, well, again, Keeper, Double Fine Games. Let me ask you right out of the gate, because those that don't know, Double Fine, they've done some good things like Psychonauts 2 and Broken Age, etc.
Brutal Legend.
Brutal Legend. Oh, love Brutal Legend. Those who've never, if you've never played that and you like Jack Black, you need to go play that. I wish they'd do something and bring that back out. I've actually played that, finished that game a couple times.
Yeah, Brutal Legend's awesome.
But Double Fine, let's be honest, they're known for their creativity and their personality in their games. Like, that's why I liked Brutal Legend. Where did Keeper fall into that? Did they succeed in regards to keeping that fun flavor involved in it?
So I'm gonna start this conversation a little unconventional. I want to start with my rating of Keeper, and I want to start going into more of that. So Keeper, to me, as a video game, is a 7 out of 10, but as an experience, it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and what I mean by that is mechanically, this game isn't that in depth. It is very basic. Sometimes it can get a little frustrating to control. But as a piece of art and the emotions that this game tried to invoke and achieved, this game is so weird. And it's so beautiful at the same time. The experience that Double Fine was able to craft with Keeper of a game that has no spoken dialogue, you play as a lighthouse, and it's about forming this found family relationship with a bird. And that is all you have. And you, as this lighthouse, are experiencing the world through its eyes, and you are figuring out more pieces about yourself and the world around you as you traverse through. Keeper, to me, is Xbox's Journey from PlayStation 3. If anyone has ever gone through Journey before, and you know the transcendent, like the transcendent experience that game invokes and the emotions evokes, that is what Keeper does. And at the core of this game, it is so creative, and it's so many people who are just passionate about art. This is, it's going to sound cliche, but it is a moving painting. One of the most gorgeous and unique looking games out there. And it does so much for an industry that continues to push aside art for profit. And this game is a slap to all the people's in those faces, because it is just so wonderfully different. Like I said, as a video game, it's not that mechanically in depth, but as an experience, it's one that I've been thinking about since finishing it. And the reason why I haven't gone deeper into Outer Worlds and I just want to play multiplayer right now is like nothing has like able to make me connect with the game like Keeper did recently.
So how long did it take you to finish the game then?
Game took me 5 hours.
You got to be kidding. It was just 5 hours. That was
the game. The game can be beaten in 3 hours. It can be upwards of 8 hours. I hit the 5 hour mark.
So, and again, just to reiterate what you said, they didn't do anything unique and mechanic wise or enhance anything that you've never seen before, or they
the
did?
Game. Yes and no. So the game is very unique mechanically. So I'm going to avoid spoilers, but there are 3 acts and an epilogue to this game, and each act is something mechanically different than before and changes how you play the game. And there are mechanics within Act 1 that changes how you play level to level. Sometimes, for example, you get these like cotton candy clouds around you, and you're able to start platforming around different areas. It takes kind of like an Astrobot, not as in-depth as Astrobot, but how Astrobot introduced new things specific for that level. Like I said, it doesn't get anywhere as tight or as fluid as Astrobot, but it takes that concept where in order to keep things moving and keeping it somewhat interesting, it introduces different things. And this game at the heart is puzzle solving. You are going from level to level and doing a bunch of puzzles, but the puzzles are nowhere challenging at all. Like the design of this game, they wanted the puzzles to be simple enough that you're able to solve them within 5 minutes. And the visual cues and the visual storytelling and world cues, like it all makes sense as you do it together. And I think where I said where the game gets frustrating to control is it is tank controls where the camera is locked and you're only using your left stick. Your right stick is actually controlling the light of the lighthouse, and the light when you beam is actually how you interact with things. So wherever you're making your lighthouse look and you hit the right trigger, it will do something to the world. And for example, your light brings life to the world. And like even though like it doesn't matter. You can go and actually bring all the dead vegetation back to life. Adds nothing to the game, but it's just like that extra little bit of detail to make it this artsy experience.
So what you're saying, and just to reiterate, the game balance between the puzzle solving, exploration, humor, and action, it's perfect balanced.
Yes, I would say it's perfect balance for what this game is trying to do. Like I said, this game is 5 hours long. It's not a long game at all. And it balances everything to keep you engaged. But realistically, it's the story of the lighthouse and the bird that makes you want to see it to the end. And as you reach the end and understand what this game is telling you, like it evoked emotions in me. It is a beautiful found family story of friendship, loss. What does it mean to be yourself? Who are you? The stages of life. It without a spoken word of dialogue, this game invokes so many philosophical questions that it is absolutely amazing.
Well, given that comparison to the PlayStation Journey, that's some high praise.
Yes.
I'm going to ask, is there a difficulty slider?
No, it is what you don't need one. This game is just one thing. It's very simple. And anyone from the age of 5 to 85 could play this game.
Okay, so there is a chance.
There is a chance.
So how well does the game run technically?
So I played this game 90% on the Xbox Ally X, and then I played the last 10% of it on the PC. This game is an Unreal Engine 5 game. However, on the Ally X, I ran it at a consistent 50 to 60 frames. It ran beautifully. I didn't notice any hitch. Let me rephrase. On the handheld, there was just sometimes when a big moment would happen that the game would hitch a little bit on the handheld, where it was like just trying to catch up. But going back and playing it on PC, the game ran phenomenally. I ran it at a steady 60. There was no drops whatsoever. Now, granted, I do have a very powerful rig, but I was able to run it on ultra settings and experience it without any issues.
Since it was a 5-hour game, and I know this we're not talking about the Ally, Xbox here. How long did the battery life last with a 5-hour game?
Running it on turbo mode in order to get that extra boost without it being plugged in netted me about 2.5 hours.
Okay, interesting. So, and again, you're talking about a game that doesn't have any dialogue in it. Was the story engaging? I know it hit your emotions, but was it engaging?
So the story to me is very reminiscent of the movie The Wild Robot, where it is this, you are this thing that is learning about life, that you are essentially a newborn, and you are a newborn finding out the world around you. Like I said, this game expertly depicts the stages of life and you coming to be, and also trying to save the world. Because let's just start, like the game, this is within the first 5 minutes, this world is infected by the Scourge. This Scourge has essentially destroyed life. It has destroyed the planet. But this lighthouse has a very magical and special ability where you're able to repel the Scourge and you're able to bring life back to the land. And you save this bird that is being chased by Scourge enemies. And this is how you form the bond. But as you are learning about this world through the newborn, and the newborn is the lighthouse. So like, it is interesting to see how you're forming friendship with something that has been living for a lot longer than you have, and this bird that is helping you navigate this world. It is a very unique concept that is so weird that only Double Fine can pull it off.
So let me just ask here, though, if it's only a 5-hour game, how much did you pay for it?
I played it on Game Pass. So
okay, how much does it go?
$30.
$30. Is it worth $30?
100% yes, because this is, at the end of the day, we always talk about like art and like looking at the Mona Lisa. This is looking at the Mona Lisa. Like, you are experiencing something that is it's not groundbreaking, but it's beautiful. And I think, like I said, in the day and age of the industry trying to push art out for profit, these games need to exist. And being that this game, I work for Xbox, but my opinions don't match the company. Just saying that. But being that this game was put out by a corporation like Microsoft is absolutely important and necessary. And it's important that we do support these kinds of titles because this allows for creatives to go and experiment with something that you might never see again. So, yeah, I think it's well worth the $30.
Because the reason why I asked that is I kind of knew what the price was, because now we're going back to, you say $30, not bad, but only for 5 hours of content. That is higher priced per hour of enjoyment than a $70 game or a $90 game that you're going to play for 100 hours.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, but there's also $70 games where I only get a 9-hour journey out of it. So,
okay. I mean, fair enough, but that's why I wanted to bring up the price to the, is there any replayability to this?
if you miss the collectibles, yes. So I played the game and then I went back and collected everything. They have a very generous chapter select though, so you can go and mop up everything else. But once you're done, you're kind of done. You don't really need to go back. But it's an experience that I'm keeping installed on my PC because there's so many moments in this game that I'm like, you know what? I would love to go play that again and see the visuals again because there are so many shots that they do in this game that I'm like, holy crap, this is just beautiful. And it's kind of a spiritual experience.
Yeah. I want to just point out Cherry Tomato said Kobe was spitting bars.
Yes, sir.
Cherry, just to let you know, before he was AKA Kobe 127, it was AKA Shady 127. So
I'm about to kick you from this call.
I'm joking. Totally joking. Yeah. Come on, that's funny. Come on. But so, I'm not the one that said you're spitting bars, so Jerry can't throw me softballs like that and me not make a joke about it. So.
As I'm wearing my Kendrick Lamar shirt.
Yeah. Blame Cherry on that. Don't kill the messenger on this one. But as Shady, what are you doing?
Don't call me Shady. I don't have the game for that.
So
I'm gonna if I try to rap, it's gonna sound like a white boy rapping. It's not meant to happen.
There you go. So if you had to just again wrap this up, give me an elevator pitch, because again, and I'm just being perfectly transparent, before you telling what it was, like I didn't pay much attention. I had to even ask you, is it keeper with an S? Is it plural? Is it singular? Because I never looked into it. But now listening to you making comparisons to Journey and that, I might go play that. So for an elevator pitch, give me an elevator pitch of the story loop, the storyline of why I should play this.
If you are looking for an experience that wants to tell a story in a very unique way that hasn't really been done in games as much, Journey has done it, but a game with no spoken dialogue and a game that goes over, I think everyone is going to get a different interpretation out of this game. So my interpretation is a found family relationship, a game about friendship, a game about experiencing the world for the very first time. How do you fit into this world? What is your purpose, the stages of life itself, and what does your life look at the end of the road? I think this game is for you because for something that is very cutesy on the outside, it is an artsy, masterful tale of what does life look like? What do we mean as people? What is our purpose in this world? What are we doing? And I think those are the questions that I had as I was playing through this 5-hour journey that might not even get answered. I think it's literally left up to the interpretation of the player. But like any good movie, like any good television show, like any good art, I'm glad it doesn't tell me straight up what this game means. I want to be left thinking about it. I want my own interpretations of what this story means. And I'm glad that this kind of game exists. So if you want to support people who are making something that is not part of the standard process anymore, you want something that is unique. It's not going to be the best game you ever play. I'm saying that straight up because like I said, mechanically as a video game, it's a 7 out of 10 at best. Like it can get a little frustrating to control at points, especially in some of the later sections where it feels a little floaty. But as an experience as a whole, if you want something that's going to challenge you in terms of thinking, if you want something that's going to evoke some emotions, if you want something that is absolutely beautiful to play and experience that we won't probably experience for the next 5 or so years, go play Keeper.
Good. All right, now put me back out of the seat. I want to go back to my. I feel
Yeah.
more comfortable on this side.
Yeah, so I mean that's Keeper. I absolutely was floored by that experience, and it's an experience that I played the span over like 4 days, where I knew it was short and I wanted to take my time. Where I would do like short sessions, get so far, and I'm like, okay, I want to go. I want to just sit back and just kind of think about it a little bit, and then I went back to experience more of it as I went on. So,
Perfect. Well, again, I think I might give that a shot. If
it's
it's
a, it,
5 hours and you're saying, that it is, because I did like Journey. I don't know that I've ever finished it, but I did like it. I thought it was very peaceful. I thought it was a serene game,
yeah,
and it brought that sense of calm over you. Like you're,
yeah.
calm. And again, that's sometimes I need that. I don't need the white knuckle.
And
I'm
this is
over that.
and
My blood pressure needs to come down, not up.
then this is the game for you. And you can play it in one sitting, you can play it in multiple sittings. But I think to anyone who wants to experience Keeper, I think, give it the attention it deserves, because I think you're going to get a lot more out of it if you kind of piecemeal it rather than just rushing through it in one sitting. That's how I played. However you guys play games, that's up to you. I'm not gonna watch how you play or judge how you play. Besides my dad, I judge all the time.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
Uh,
It's called elder abuse.
Yeah, we throw that term around a lot. What about child? So, oh, you there?
What?
I was gonna say what about child
You
abuse?
froze.
But I was gonna say you froze. But either ways, we're at
It doesn't work that way.
freezing on a very, of course, very good moment for you to freeze.
Yes, exactly.
Either ways, that's our reviews for each of the games. Dad, do you have anything else to say? If not, we can start wrapping this up and getting out of here.
No, I hope that you guys enjoy our take on it. It's obviously two different sides of the coin for a lot of the stuff, but that's the whole take of what this podcast is. It's the old view against the new view. So I hope you guys enjoyed this.
Yep. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining today, commenting to any of those who find us later. Hello. I hope you guys are doing well as well. But as always, up here, this is outdated, so you can listen to me explain all of our socials now on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and Blue Sky. We are at Active Reload Gaming. This episode will go up on Spotify shortly after this. We just got to make sure it gets up and does it okay. On Twitter or X and Twitch, we are at ActiveRel. That's with an REL, ActiveRel Gaming. Didn't say it before, but in the top left corner is our Discord. You can scan the QR code, hop in, start chatting with us, and just start talking about gaming in general. Next week, we're going to be going over the Game Awards predictions. Hopefully, the nominations are out at that time. So we're going to start the slew of Game Awards conversations.
And I just think joining our Discord, that's the best way to be able to find where we're at, what we're doing. Because I want to get the graphics updated, but then it's going to look like, all social medias and nothing of our podcast. So it's go to our Discord. We'd appreciate that.
Yep. And as always, I hope each and every one of you have a great rest of your weekend, and we will catch you all next week.